Hello viewers, welcome you to my channel. Today, by this class, we shall learn the important questions from spelling reform. Reform efforts began in earliest in the 16th century with dash and dash who reconstructed again ancient Greek pronunciation and then applied themselves to English. Sir John Check and Sir Thomas Smith. Smith published a 34 letter alphabet to better map onto its sounds. Reform efforts began in earliest in the 16th century with dash and dash who reconstructed ancient Greek pronunciation and then applied themselves to English. Sir John Check and Sir Thomas Smith. Smith published a 34 letter alphabet to better map onto its sounds. Who wrote become mixed up with moral feeling. H.G. Wells is a science fiction writer who found English learned hard and evil to read, full of confusion, disorder, voices and corruptions in his ambitious orthography in 1569. John Hart who wrote become mixed up with moral feeling. H.G. Wells who found English learned hard and evil to read, full of confusion, disorder, vices and corruptions in his ambitious orthography 1569. John Hart. Richard Mulcaster, whose influential proto-spelling dictionary has listed thousands of words in regularized spelling patterns, elementary in 1582. Richard Mulcaster, whose influential proto-spelling dictionary has listed thousands of words in regularized spelling patterns, elementary 1582, okay, RME. In Dash, the Royal Society was founded in 1662. The committee featured John Dryden, John Evelyn. In Dash, the Royal Society was founded in 1662. The committee featured John Dryden and John Evelyn. In 1873, Isaac Pitman proposed a supplementing reform in his dash, adding 15 new letters to the 23 useful letters of the existing alphabet. C, Q, and X were dismissed. Phonetic Journal. Answer is Phonetic Journal. In 1873, Isaac Pitman proposed a supplementing reform in his dash, adding 15 new letters to the 23 useful letters of the existing alphabet. C, Q, and X were dismissed. Answer is Phonetic Journal. Harry Lindgren's proposal SR1 was once popular in dash, Australia. Modern English spelling developed from about dash onwards, 1350 onwards, middle of 14th century. French origin, battle, beef, button, etc. Harry Lindgren's proposal SR1 was once popular in Australia. Modern English spelling developed from about dash onwards, 1350. French origin, battle, beef, button, etc. The biggest change in spelling in English spelling consistency occurred between 1525 when William Tyndale first translated the New Testament and 1539 when King Henry VIII legalized dash in England, the printing of English Bibles. The biggest change in English spelling consistency occurred between 1525 when William Tyndale first translated the New Testament and 1539 when King Henry VIII legalized dash in England, the printing of English Bibles. Dear viewers, after William Tyndale, the remaining half of the Bible was completed by Miles Coverdale in 1535. Dash is a West Germanic language spoken by about 25 million people as a first language, Dutch, Netherlands. Dash in other words such as gospel, gossip, and gizzard was later removed. The silent H. Dash is a West Germanic language spoken by about 25 million people as a first language, Dutch, Netherlands. Dash in other words such as gospel, gossip, and gizzard was later removed. The silent H. Do recta et emendata lingua Anglia scriptum on the rectified and amended written English language in 1568 by Das Sir Thomas Smith. Okay, Thomas Smith, we have seen the previous questions along with Sir John Check. An orthography in 1569 by John Hart. See, de recta et emendata lingua Anglia scriptum on the rectified and amended written English language in 1568 by Das Sir Thomas Smith. An orthography in 1569 by Das John Hart. Okay. Book at large for the amendment of English orthography in 1580 by Das William Bullocker. Logomania Anglica in 1621 by Das Dr. Alexander Gill. English grammar in 1634 by Das Charles Butler. Book at large for the amendment of English orthography in 1580 by William Bullocker. Okay, amendment of English orthography, William Bullocker. Logomania Anglica in 1621 by Dr. Alexander Gill. English grammar in 1634 by Charles Butler. Who in his grammar of 1662 recommended minor changes to spelling? James Howell. Who in his grammar of 1662 recommended minor changes to spelling? James Howell. Such as changing logic to logic, ware to war, sinne to sin, tune to town, and true to true. This is a very successful one, and this question is definitely to be asked. So just remember, who in his grammar of 1662 recommended minor changes to spelling? James Howell. Such as changing logic to logic, ware to war, sinne to sin, tune to town, and true to true. Who satirized the disparity between English spelling and pronunciation? Answer is William Shakespeare. In his play Love's Labour's Lost, the character Das is a pedant who insists that everyone should pronounce the unhistorical B in words like doubt and depth. Okay, answer is Holofernes. Who satirizes the disparity between English spelling and pronunciation? William Shakespeare. In his play Love's Labour's Lost, the character Das is a pedant who insists that everyone should pronounce the unhistorical B in words like doubt and depth. Answer is Holofernes. In 1806, Noah Webster published his first dictionary Das, a compendious dictionary of the English language. A compendious dictionary of the English language. In 1807, Webster began compiling an expanded dictionary. It was published in 1828 as Das, an American dictionary of the English language. See, the English language is same for both, but a compendious and American. Okay. In 1837, this is the coronation of Victoria. Who published his system of phonetic shorthand? Answer is Isaac Pitman. In 1848, who published a plea for phonetic spelling? Alexander John Ellis. In 1837, who published his system of phonetic shorthand? Answer is Isaac Pitman. In 1848, okay, who published a plea for phonetic spelling? Alexander John Ellis. After the International Convention for the Amendment of English Orthography that was held in Das in August 1876, societies were found such as the English Spelling Reform Association and American Spelling Reform Association. Answer is Philadelphia. After the International Convention for the Amendment of English Orthography that was held in Das in August 1876, and this year is very notable, 1876, societies were founded such as the ESRA and ASRA. See, that is English Spelling Reform Association and American Spelling Reform Association. Answer is Philadelphia. That year, the American Philological Society adopted a list of dash reformed spellings for immediate use. 11. They are, these were are, give, have, live, though, through, God, catalog, definite, wished. That year, the American Philological Society adopted a list of dash reformed spellings for immediate use. Answer is 11. They were are, give, have, live, though, through, God, catalog, definite, and wished. One major American newspaper that began using reformed spellings was the dash, whose editor and owner Joseph Medill sat on the council of the Spelling Reform Association, a Chicago Tribune. One major American newspaper that began using reformed spellings was the dash, whose editor and owner Joseph Medill sat on the council of the Spelling Reform Association, Chicago Tribune, okay, JMCT. In DAS, the American Philological Society and American Philological Association worked together to produce 24 spelling reform rules which were published that year. Answer is 1883. Already asked this question. In DAS, the American Philological Society and American Philological Association worked together to produce 24 spelling reform rules. Okay. Only two different from alphabet, which were published that year 1883. In DAS, the American National Education Association adopted its own list of 12 words to be used in all writings. Answer is 1898. Okay, 1898. They are though, although, through, therefore, through, throughout, catalog, decalogue, demagogue, pedagogue, prologue, program. In DAS, the American National Education Association adopted its own list of 12 words to be used in all writings. Answer is 1898. Here is very important, 1898. Then though, although, through, therefore, through, throughout, catalog, decalogue, demagogue, pedagogue, prologue, program. The Simplified Spelling Board was founded with 30 members in the United States in 1906. Here is also very important, 1906. Who was a founding member, supported the SSB Simplified Spelling Board with yearly bequest of more than $3 lakh. Andrew Carnegie. Okay, Andrew Carnegie. The Simplified Spelling Board was founded with 30 members in the United States in 1906. Who was the founding member, supported the SSB. Okay, he was actually the founding member of SSB with yearly bequest of more than $3 lakh. Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie. In April 1906, SSB published a dash which included 157 spellings that were already in common use in American English, list of 300 words. In April 1906, SSB published a dash which included 157 spellings that were already in common use in American English. List of 300 words. Okay, 157, 300 words. In dash, the SSB word list was adopted by Theodore Roosevelt, who ordered the government printing office to start using them immediately, August 1906. In dash, the SSB published its Handbook of Simplified Spelling, which set forth over 25 spelling reform rules. Answer is 1920. In dash, the SSB word list was adopted by Theodore Roosevelt, who ordered the government printing office to start using them immediately. Answer is August 1906. In dash, the SSB published its Handbook of Simplified Spelling, which set forth over 25 spelling reform rules. 1920. Okay, Handbook of Simplified Spelling, HSS, in 1920, with 25 spelling reform rules. In Britain, spelling reform was promoted from dash by the Simplified Spelling Society and attracted a number of prominent supporters. Answer is 1908. One of these was dash, author of Pygmalion, and much of his considerable will was left to the cause, George Bernard Shaw. In Britain, spelling reform was promoted from dash by the Simplified Spelling Society and attracted a number of prominent supporters. 1908. One of these was dash, author of Pygmalion, and much of his considerable will was left to the cause, George Bernard Shaw. Between 1934 and 1975, the dash, then Chicago's biggest newspaper, used a number of reformed spellings. Answer is Chicago Tribune. Over a 2-month spell in 1934 beginning year, it introduced 80 respelled words, including though, through, against, bureaucrat, frat, hearth, hearse, island, rhyme, staff, and telegraph. Between 1934 and 1975, see almost many years, 44, 54, 64, 74, mostly 41 years, the dash, then Chicago's biggest newspaper, used a number of reformed spellings. Answer is Chicago Tribune. In 1950s, dash dictionaries listed many reformed spellings, including the SSB's 300 alongside the conventional spellings funk and wagnalls. In 1950s, dash dictionaries listed many reformed spellings, including the SSB's 300 alongside the conventional spellings funk and wagnalls. By the lead of a Labour MP, Dr. Montfolique's bill by 65 votes in 1961, James Pittman's dash introduced into many British schools in an attempt to improve child literacy. Answer is initial teaching alphabet. James Pittman is actually the brother-in-law of Isaac Pittman. By the lead of a Labour MP, Dr. Montfolique's bill by 65 votes in 1961, James Pittman's dash introduced into many British schools in an attempt to improve child literacy. Initial teaching alphabet. In this 1969 book dash, the Australian linguist Harry Lindgren proposed a step-by-step reform, spelling reform, a new approach. The first spelling reform, step 1, okay, SR1, called for the short a sound as in bet to always be spelled with a. For example, friend. See, the spelling friend, friend, was written in the tomb of William Shakespeare, okay, in the Middle English. Head. This reform and some popularity in Australia. In his 1969 book, the Australian linguist Harry Lindgren proposed a step-by-step reform. Spelling reform, a new approach, another name for SR1. Spelling reform, a new approach. The first spelling reform, step 1, SR1, called for the short a sound as in better to always be spelled with a, for example, friend, head. This reform had some popularity in Australia. In 2013, University of Oxford professor of English Das proposed that variety in spelling be acceptable. Simon Horobin. Okay. For example, he believes that it does not matter whether words such as accommodate and tomorrow are spelled with double letters RR. Okay. In 2013, University of Oxford professor of English Das proposed that variety in spelling be acceptable. Answer is Simon Horobin. For example, he believes that it does not matter whether words such as accommodate and tomorrow are spelled with double letters. Ambiguity is particularly problematic in the case of das. Homographs with different pronunciations that vary with meaning, okay, such as bow, bow, desert, live, live, read, read, tear, tear, wind, wind, and wound, wound. So this is heteronyms. Answer is heteronyms. Ambiguity is particularly problematic in the case of das. Homographs with different pronunciations that vary with meaning, such as bow, desert, live, read, tear, tear, okay, wind, and wound, wound. Answer is heteronyms. Edmund Spenser used spellings such as dash, dash, and dash in his famous poem The Fairy Queen, published in the 1590s. Answer is rise, wise, and advice. Is that sound? Okay. Edmund Spenser used spellings such as dash, dash, and dash in his famous poem The Fairy Queen, published in the 1590s. Answer is rise, wise, and advice. Regularized English, see E instead of E, I. Regularized English is a revised English spelling system devised and advocated by Das, set out in his 1959 book Regularized English. Swedish linguist Axel Wigg. Okay, an investigation into the English spelling reform problem with a new detailed plan for a possible solution. Regularized English, okay, is a revised English spelling system devised and advocated by Das, set out in his 1959 book Regularized English. Answer is Swedish linguist Axel Wigg. Swedish linguist Axel Wigg. A connoisseur, spelling of connoisseur from das connoisseur, then connator, meaning to be acquainted with or to know somebody or something, is a person who has a great deal of knowledge about the fine arts. This word is taken from Middle French. A connoisseur, spelling of connoisseur from Middle French. In Das, the SSB published a handbook of simplified spelling, which was written wholly in Reformed spelling 1920. In 1910, who played a major role in developing a system now known as Classic New Spelling? Philologist Alexander John Ellis. In Das, the SSB published a handbook of simplified spelling, which was written wholly in reformed spelling. Answer is 1920. Here is very important, 1920. And later 10 years minus, see, in 1910, who played a major role in developing a system now known as classic new spelling? Philologist Alexander John Ellis. Cut spelling is a spelling reform which reduces redundant letters. It was designed by Das, Christopher Upward, okay, who popularized the cut spelling, Simplified Spelling Society, SSS. Cut spelling was coined by dash psychologist Valerie Yule. Cut spelling is a spelling reform which reduces redundant letters. It was designed by dash Christopher Upward, who popularized cut spelling. Simplified Spelling Society Triple S. Cut spelling was coined by psychologist Valerie Yule. Isaac Pitman developed the most widely used system of shorthand known now as Pitman shorthand, first proposed in dash stenographic soundhand in 1837. Okay, 1837 here is very important. Dash, a publisher and a conservative member of parliament, grandson of Isaac Pitman, invented the initial teaching alphabet. Answer is James Pitman. Isaac Pitman developed the most widely used system of shorthand, known now as Pitman shorthand, first proposed in dash stenographic soundhand 1837. A publisher and conservative member of parliament, grandson of Isaac Pitman, invented the initial teaching alphabet. James Pitman. Alfred Tennyson, first Baron Tennyson, was a vice president of the English Spelling Reform Association, precursor to the dash Simplified Spelling Society. Okay, Triple S. He was the precursor actually. Alfred Tennyson, first Baron Tennyson, was a vice president of the English Spelling Reform Association, precursor to the dash Simplified Spelling Society. George Bernard Shaw, playwright, willed part of his estate to fund the creation of a new alphabet, now called the dash Shavian alphabet. George Bernard Shaw, playwright, willed part of his estate to fund the creation of a new alphabet, now called the dash Shavian alphabet. Dash, publisher of the Chicago Tribune, employed reformed spelling in his newspaper. The Tribune used simplified versions of some words such as although for alto. Robert R. McCormick. Dash, publisher of the Chicago Tribune. Okay, he was actually the publisher of the Chicago Tribune, employed reformed spelling in his newspaper. The Tribune is nothing but Chicago Tribune, used simplified versions of some words such as although for although. Robert R. McCormick. Who was founder of the Australian Centre for Social Innovations? Valerie Yule. Who was the author of Chemical Shorthand for Organic Formulae 1943 and a proponent of the proposed SR1, Australian Dog Everingham. Who was founder of the Australian Centre for Social Innovations? Valerie Yule. Who was the author of Chemical Shorthand for Organic Formulae 1943 and a proponent of the proposed SR1, Australian Dog Everingham. Who was the author of Simple Phonetic English Spelling 2013 and Simple Phonetic Dictionary for International Version of Writing in English 2012, Alan Kiske. Who was the author of Simple Phonetic English Spelling 2013 and Simple Phonetic Dictionary for International Version of Writing in English 2012, Alan Kiske. Who favored replacing W and Y with U and I? Montfolic. Who is the current president of the English Spelling Society? Answer is Anatoly Liberman. Who favored replacing W and Y with U and I? Montfolic. Who is the current president of the English Spelling Society? Anatoly Liberman. Thank you, listeners. If the video is helpful, please subscribe my channel. Thank you.